Hello, thanks for coming. I'm continuing my how-to series of videos here, and what we're going to do today is to test this VIC 1541 single floppy disk drive made by Commodore, which works with the 128, the 64, and of course the VIC 20. So I have done the initial testing. I've hooked things up. And here's a quick note that is sometimes helpful these days. Power supplies, if you just leave them plugged in with a power bar that's on, keep drawing power and it will get hot and it can eventually, well, it can use up your electricity. And as you know, or as you know now, as I'm about to tell you, the old power supplies, some people don't trust them. So it's not necessarily a good thing. So the best thing is if you're done with everything you're doing and you're connected to a power bar, flip the switch, turn it off, done, finished, over, until you turn it on again. If you can't do that, best to unplug, even though that may not be easy. So I'm going to turn on, I have a power bar over here that's connected to this power bar here. I'm going to turn it on, and indeed power will come up on this Commodore 64, and it came up on this disk drive. When the disk drive comes up, the power light comes on, the red LED comes on, the drive spins. And that is a good sign that there is hope that it is working. Do we know if it works for sure? No, we do not. That is why, best thing to do, hopefully you have a copy of the 1541 test demo disc, which was included with disk drives. If you don't, it is a good thing to try and get a copy of, or in these days, download or do something. But anyway, for we purists who don't use the SD card options, we have a disk. Now I have never tested this before, so I'm going to try and load the directory. And how is that done? We load quote, $, quote, comma, 8, and we see what happens. And okay, it struggled a bit because the light flashed a bit, but it did come up. And then we look for this program called Performance Test. So we type in load. Now I'm cheating a bit. I moved up the directory and moved across. But if I was doing it for real, I would load quote, performance test, quote, comma, 8. And hit return, and it should come up. The other thing, of course, you can do, this is a little trick, is if you look at the directory and you see that there's only one thing that starts with a particular letter, you can load quote, P, and then put an asterisk and quote, comma, 8. It will load the first thing with the letter P as the first name in the file. Now on this disk there is another thing called printer test. So if I just loaded P asterisk quote comma load quote P asterisk quote comma 8, I would get the printer test, which would not do me any good with the disk drive. So, but if I put in load quote PE asterisk quote comma 8, I would get the performance test, which indeed I have gotten. So I'm going to run it. By the way, the performance test is made such that it will work on a VIC 20, a Commodore 64, or for a drive like this, a 128. When you see it come up on the screen, it's kind of off to one side. That's so it would look okay on the 22-column VIC 20. Now what I've done here, because it's going to wipe out this disk. This disk I know is blank because I have written on it in a black Sharpie, blank test disk. Don't put a disk in there with anything that you care about, because it's going to format it and initialize it, new it, whatever term you want to come up with. It's going, whatever is on there is going to be gone after you run the performance test. But it is important to run the performance test to see how the drive is performing. I am a little concerned because the light was flickering a bit. This often means the head might be a little dirty, a little out of alignment. Anyway, I'm going to hit enter, or as it says on the screen, return, and it will go out and it is issued the disk new command. listen carefully, you can hear the head moving along. In this test to see, well, if the disk drive can format a disk. And then it performs a bunch of other tests. And at the end, it will tell you what it thinks of this said disk drive. Now this disk drive, recently I did a video and I cleaned it up, but there is stuff on here that is never going to come out, and there are some gouges. So the top of this case is less than beautiful. Also, on the LED, there is some kind of something. It's not that it's not coming on. Maybe it's paint, maybe it's, who knows. These machines lived strange lives. They did. Anyway, this one is a good candidate for swapping the top. Aha, okay. I hear things. Okay. So it says it has passed the mechanical test. It is now opening a write file and writing data to the disk. So somewhere out there, the disk drive is being instructed to make a file and put things in it. This takes a little while, but this tests to see if the drive can write and if that part is functioning. Because most of the time, even games, especially if there's like a, okay, it has closed the file, it is now opening back and checking to see that the data is accurate. Most, but not all games will have like a high score thing, and they have to write to the disk. So if the disk drive isn't writing, well, that ain't happening. Anyway, does this test everything to do with the disk drive? Well, lots of things. It's rare that it will pass this test and still be okay. But it is possible, because if it is badly out of alignment, not badly, but somewhat out of alignment, see, it's formatting the disk that it's testing. So if it's formatting it and it's out of alignment, its alignment where it formatted it is also out of alignment. So it may be read it fine. Other disks may not read fine. There we go. Okay, so according to everything here, this disk drive has passed the performance test. So even though it, especially here, it is cosmetically far from perfect, mechanically, or also this on the LED, it does seem to operate. So that is a good thing. Keeping in mind, see, this is not the original 1541. Sorry, it's an early 1541, but the original disk drive was a 1540. And it was for the bit 20. But then they switched to 1541. The 1540, I believe, with the original ROMs, does not work with the Commodore 64. I believe. I'm just going to load the directory again. Seems to be okay. And I'm going to load in another thing. It's called check disk. And it has loaded. So anyway, I'm going to take and put my test disk back in. And I'm going to type in run. And what this does is it goes out onto a disk drive, or onto the disk drive and a disk, and it checks every block of every track of every sector. Now, are we going to sit here while it does this? No. It takes quite a while. So I'll leave this to keep on keeping on. I shall. But it's not a bad thing to just let this go through. And you know, this disk drive might have been sitting for 30 or more years. Not a bad thing to give it a little exercise. And this certainly does exercise the stepper motor and the read-write head, etc., etc. Right now, it is only up to track 3, sector 6. And actually, with it making this much noise, I'm wondering if it is having a little struggle or if this is part of the testing process. I'm not just sure. I seem to remember this before. Anyway, I will let this run, and I will see. But from what I'm seeing, I believe this disk drive would be rather dirty, rather ugly, and certainly a survivor, but it does work just fine. And that's really what we need. Keeping in mind, of course, if we had a setup with a whole bunch of disk drives, and this one was, say, on the bottom, the front of this, there's a little bit of discoloration here, but not bad. And a magic eraser might take care of that. It might. So if another disk drive was sitting on this, we really wouldn't see this. We would not. But if you're going to sell it, some people, of course, are very much into the cosmetics. And they would go, ooh, because there are some gouges. It almost looks like things from a soldering iron or something. But you never know, you know. So this is now working away. It's up to track 4. It is now checked 75 blocks. It is up to track 4, sector 11. But we do not have to watch this. We do not. Alright, so here we have a successful test of a 1541 disk drive. And not much more to say about that. If you don't have one of these discs, you should try and get it, or you know, if you're into the modern things, there's probably a place to download it. Otherwise, there's probably a place online to order it from. I have not been active on eBay, but I have sent and sold copies of this disc to people in the past. And there are other programs on it which are quite handy and quite helpful. And even if you don't have the device that they test, like a printer or whatever, the other thing that's good, I always found helpful in the past, was to load up a program and list through it and look at what's going on and what they're doing, and maybe take little bits and learn about how to program or how to access things, or, you know, like how to open the channel to the disk drive or to the printer. I have never really looked at the performance test, but I've always been fascinated by, right at the end, it tells the head to go way out and go way out, and you hear it go. I don't know how they do that. I've always thought, gee, I should look at that and see how to do that. It's cool, but I don't know how they do it. But they do. And it is important for the head to be able to travel all the way from the one side to the other side and back successfully. And it does seem to be working on this disk drive here. So, cheers. Well, that's all for today. Do come again. I have many, many more things to test. And of course, oh, wait a second. Excuse me. Document 1541 works. This is November of 2021. I'm just putting the date, case needs attention. But the disk drive works. The other thing, and I think I can do this while it's working, because I really don't care if they're sideways. You can run them sideways, and in some ways, maybe it's better for airflow, because there's not a whole lot of space under the bottom of this. But what I do like to do, and I don't always do, but I like to do, excuse me, I'm having a little trouble with these. There we go. I like to put the serial number. assuming I can read it. Okay. SN 2 1 0 4 5 2. This is because, of course, I can stick this on the bottom. It's got a post-it thing, and I do like to actually use some real tape, because the post-it things are fine, but they only stick on one end, and they can get dislodged. And if they get dislodged, well, then, you know, I find the thing lying around somewhere. How do I know what it's from? Unless I put this here. Oh, I sense the penny has arrived. For those that don't know, Penny is a cat. Oh, Penny, 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 Penny. And Penny does not really like to be held, but she does like, hello Penny, she likes to come up and see me. It seems as soon as I press record. Do you want to go up on the table? Alright. Okay, no, that's fine, Penny. Okay, so Penny gonna look around? Penny good. You gonna cat scan the disk drive? Hmm? You wanna... Penny, hello. Penny, wanna go up on the pet? Penny often, and I don't know what it is about cats, they like to go everywhere. Hello, Penny. But she often likes to sit up on top. Hello. Don't mess with the magic erasers, please. I know, it's just a box. Just like everything, the toy is irrelevant. The box is fun. Come on, Penny. Penny, Penny, Penny. There's not a whole lot of space there. There's not really anywhere to go. I know. Come on back here. Can you do that? I know. Alright, well, we're not going to take forever and watch this do its thing. It's now up to track 8. It's checked 158 blocks. It's got a long way to go. Right, Penny? Yes, thank you. So, Penny, can you turn around? Can you? Hello. Alright, well, thank you for checking out the disk drive, Penny. Thank you. Thank you. I think we need to move along. I think we do. You gonna get down? There you go. Thank you for coming. Alright. Bye, Penny. Bye, Penny. There she goes. Oh, another thing. Oh, Penny's back. It is really best to limit how much you drink around your computer, because things happen, and if things spill, like if I were to accidentally spill this in here, it ultimately would not be good. I have never had such an accident, but things happen. So it is best to keep food and drink away from such computers, unless you are, like if I had another table here, I would not feel bad about it. But just be careful out there. Alright, Penny, I sense you're here. Yes. Okay, Penny. Yes, I know. We'll go downstairs. Alright, so I'm going to leave this to test, and I'll see what else. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Penny, I know. Okay. Penny needs some attention, as do all old pets. Right, Penny? Yes. I know. Okay. Sorry for the delay in saying goodbye, farewell, stay safe, and bye for now.